my time with you. I always say that because I felt like I'm just occupying your precious time for some precious information. And here you go, and let me show you, let me just dive right in. And this is our website, folks. If you really want to talk to me and wanting to know information that you searched, couldn't find it, and the best way is to contact one of our partners here. And if you click me, and you will see the available time, and you can book my time. Yes, we do charge, but however, the information we give you online, it will be recorded. You can refer back to it, and you can rely on it. But with the information we give out here on YouTube channel, our goal is to educate, right? We want to give you what we know. So for that reason, you cannot really rely on it to make a meaningful or critical decision out of it. So I would strongly recommend you to know how to use information, and contact us on from our website. Earlier I showed you. This is our YouTube channel, you see, and I would love to have you subscribe to our channel. One of the benefits of subscribing to our channel is you actually, obviously, whenever we come on to talk a certain topics, you'll be getting notified. You don't have to come on if it is not related to you. But if it is something like you want to understand why business valuation is important, what is the, construction company year-end accounting, those are really valuable informations, and maybe just something you want to know and you need to know. I don't know about you, and sometimes when I really are thinking of something, wanting to resolve something, I go to website and here and there and my resources, and I couldn't find the answer. And it will be so weird that out of blue, I'll see the answer on the internet somewhere or on the book that I happen to open up. So it's just like, it happens. So I want us to be one of those resources for you, and making you happily surprised about what you are searching, and finally find the answer. So let's go to our topic today. We talk about per diem rate, per diem. And the new per diem just got announced on October 1st, 2023. Know that per diem is the federal established reimbursement rate on travel. And it does it every year, October 1st. Sometimes there's no changes, sometimes some changes. Expires in next year, September. So it goes with the federal fiscal year, right? You know how our federal government is. They could shut down, then we would have no money going into the system. So October 1st is the brand new year for the federal government. So they got this new per diem rate coming up, and I do want to take this opportunity to talk to folks about per diem, because a lot of business owners don't know they could do that, don't know how they would do it. So let's talk about it. Prior to the slides, we always make 1 or 2 slides to brag about ourselves. Of course we brag about ourselves because we are really amazing, right? Ying is amazing. I'm not Donald Trump talking about himself, so amazing. I'm ordinary, but one thing I can tell you is community CPA, our 40 professional staff, they are amazing. And they are the one make matters happen, make dreams come true, and they speak collectively 9 different languages. They keep the office open 6 days a week. Are you kidding me? We got a whole bunch of really amazing people. And with their support, I was able to put together, I wrote 2 books so far. One is 8 a.m., the other one is 10 a.m. Both are on Amazon, and the 8 a.m. is starting up a business, is like when you start and what you do. It actually has a lot of really interesting stories in there. If you like to flip the pages, you'll find those stories. And I really meant for the book to be wherever you open up, it will draw you in, because stories are fun and they're real stories. Obviously, I mask the client's name and I'm making some changes, so you cannot really refer that to the client. But I do tell one of my clients that, hey, you're Peter in my book. So I do write about our client. And then on the 10 a.m., we talk about how to grow your business. It is really a journey for community CPA as well. We started it from one client and $600 a year revenue. We go for 10,000 clients. Now we're in multi-millions. So it is really the journey we go. So we lay it out for you. We hope that you follow us. And with that, one important thing we do is just know to say that there is no responsibility. This is a disclaimer for that. And as our knowledge is free to you, and you want to be mindful when you quote and use any of our webinars material. All right, you know how English is my second language. So I do not automatically know words. And, I'm not growing up in the English-speaking world. So the first time when I came to this term of per diem, I actually did look up the reason, how that come about. So per diem is per day. It is by the day in Latin. And a per diem means a amount of money someone is giving for daily expense, such as those incurred while traveling for work. So I made this picture out of the Wikipedia, and it teaches you how to pronounce it, which I use that a lot, just so you know. So per diem, and the per diem rate is something that government come up, and the federal government came up with a per diem rate. That rate is being used by businesses, so we will talk about that. All right, so now, why some businesses use per diem? So not all the businesses use per diem, but some businesses do use it. So why is that? What preventing people from not using it? So basically, if you don't use per diem, what you do, you are actually would account the actual travel expenses, right? So you would account your meal, lodging, and incidental. You would actually get a receipt and do reimbursement. If you are the boss, if you are the owner of the business, your employee goes to travel, and they will come back to you with receipts, right? Then you will say, okay, so we reimburse you. So that is a lot of work. And so some business, rather than doing that, they just use a federal per diem rate and reimburse employee that way. So I summarized up why people use per diem. Number one, easier budgeting. So if you are in the business, you know that your client are out of state, and every year your employee need to go to the client 2 weeks in the year. So you got a budgeting for that, right? Easier to budget because it's a fixed amount, and you don't really need to count on receipt anymore. You just know that this is per day, $309. That's it, right? So that's easy. Less paperwork means per diem reduce or eliminates the needs for employees to keep and submit receipts, and for companies to verify, approve them as well. So you just kind of eliminate that. Employees don't have to meet usual record-keeping rules required by IRS. Receipts of expenses generally unrequired under the per diem method. So employees still must substantiate the time, place, business purposes of the travel. You can't be just dream up a per diem and say I went out for 2 days, but you're actually just hiding in your house. That's not the case. So you still have to have a way to prove that you have that business purpose of travel happened, and here is the per diem rate. You would get money from the employer. And the smarter spending, what happened is when you are doing per diem and say $309 a day, then if that is the amount, your employee actually would look for cheaper hotels and would eat more responsibly because whatever left over is become their money, right? So the same thing with even the partners. Some of the companies has, so many partners, each one of them travels and they all come back with receipts. Then one partner drink a little less than the other partner, so they're not happy. So in that case, and per diem might be the way to fix that, right? And so you can see why it is smarter spending. And the simplified partners and owners expenses reimbursement. So in here, I want to make sure that for the partner and business owner who would get to use per diem, their ownership has to be less than 10%. So if you are a 100% shareholder in a C corporation, you don't get to use per diem. But if you're 5% of a shareholder and in a S corporation, C corporation, you get to use per diem. You could, right? And for self-employment business owners, like the one who files Schedule C, you can use per diem. So there's a little twist in terms of who is qualified to use per diem. So business owners, I know you're the one listening to me, my talk. So I want you to know that it's not like automatically you can use it. You want to qualify yourself first, right? The other thing is per diem reimbursement. Me as an employee got per diem reimbursement into my hand. So that is not taxable. Means I don't need to report that on my 1040. It should not appear on my W-2. And I am just clean. And you give me money, I keep it. So as long as the per diem payment is not exceed the maximum federal per diem rate. You see? So as long as the per diem rate is, as long as it's below the per diem rate published by the federal government, and you don't really have any issues with reporting it. Now, let's talk about this October 1st, the new per diem rate that just come out. And it is a notice 2023-68. They're just numbering that. In 2023, how many notices they send out, they label them by the number. So this 68. The IRS announced the fiscal year 2024, which is starting from October 1st, 2023 to September 30th, 2024. So in this period, the per diem rate. So if you read on, is on October 1st of every year, a new rate is set by the GSA, the government standard agreement. So that's a federal government site. I will show you the website so you will get that. And for 2023, the standard lodging rate will increase from 2022's number, which was 96 to 98 a day. So that's a standard lodging rate. Lodging rate means hotels, right? It means the hotel is not the food, not the meal and the incidental. The rate for meal and incidental per diem tiers will remain not changed from 2022. So it is 59 to 79. The standard rate will also remain unchanged at 59. So you notice that there's a standard rate, right? So there's also a range rate. That is what we call the simplified alternative, the high and low method. That's what they call them, high and low method, because in our country, inside of USA, there's state of a high per diem rate. There's also state or low per diem rate. There's 300 locations. They have a very detailed information on that. I'll lead you to that website. Under high and low method, the federal per diem rate to be used is high rate for high cost locations, okay? And the low rate is for those other locations. And the annual high-low rate for high-low substantiation method is $309 for travel to any high-cost location, and $214 for travel to other ones. And for meal and incidental, it is $74 for high, $64 for low. But whether you are going to a high place or low place, you can go to the website, actually find out. So if you type into where you are going, say you go to Chicago, Illinois, you type into Chicago, Illinois, and it will give you the lodging rate and also the meal and incidental rate, rate per day. So from employer standpoint, so from the business owner standpoint, how this thing works. So a couple of questions I find that to be really interesting, so I want to bring it out to you. I knew this is exactly what you were going to ask me. Do I have to pay federal per diem rate to employees? So if you say, yes, I want to do per diem, but the per diem rate is so high, I really could not afford it, and can I pay less? The answer is yes. So you do not have to pay the federal determined per diem rate. The federal rate is the highest rate you can go. If you pay more than that, you're going to end up making your employee pay taxes. Okay? So remember the mileage rate? The mileage rate also is the highest rate. It does not mean that you have to pay that rate to the employee. It just means that if you pay more than that much, your employee is going to end up paying taxes on what you pay to them. So, do I have to pay federal per diem rate to employee? The answer is no. You can pay more or less. If you pay more than the federal rate, the excess will be taxable to employee. And you may quickly say that, okay, then can I deduct if I paid more than federal per diem? Absolutely. You can deduct. I will answer that question furthermore down here. When are per diem payments taxable to employee? So obviously we just talked about if you pay too much, more than the federal determined per diem rate, your employee gonna pay. Okay, they are going to pay the reimbursement you give them. They're going to pay taxes. And if they have no expense report is filled with the employer, then they may end up have to pay tax. Their payment might be taxable. The expense report filed do not include the date, the time, place, amount, business purpose. Then they may have to pay taxes on the per diem reimbursement. A flat amount is given to the employee and no expense is required. So if you are such a kind boss, you go like, oh yeah, if you go out of town and you get $300 from me every day, I don't need anything from you. And then that requires your employee to treat that as other income, so they would have to pay taxes on it. So by looking at this, we want to say to you is, as an employer, if you want to make sure your employee does not have to pay taxes for the per diem payment you give to them, you want them to give you a report. You want the report to put in the date, time, place, amount, business purpose, right? So, of course, you say amount, so do they put in the per diem amount or they put in their actual? They can put in the per diem amount. They just need to provide the date, time, place where they are, the business purpose. So the per diem amount for the day, then you reimburse. Then if they have that, they don't need to pay taxes on that. They take it home happy, no tax. You, as an employer, can deduct that as a business expense. Can the employer deduct the amount of per diem as business expense? The answer is a big fat yes. It is a yes. There is no federal regulation to spell out this part really clearly. So I have seen people doing all kind of things related to here. So we have people, what they do is, for the lodging part, they deduct 100%. But for the meal, they do 50%. But my take is that the meal should not be 50% because the employee is going out of town. So they're not in town going to coffee shop, so they pay their own coffee and they just get their client's coffee reimbursed. They're going out of town 100% for your business, and you should reimburse 100% of their costs. And also, you should be able to deduct that as a business expense. And I have seen other regulations to say that if it is going out of town, if it is 50 miles away from where their home is, and they can deduct. So again, there is no such a federal regulation says that, oh yes, per diem can be deducted 100% by the employer. There's no such an answer. Maybe it is such a simple, logical thing to do, then it will be crazy to have some common sense also spelled out as a regulation, right? We will never finish writing up regulations if we start not using common sense for business logics, right? What records should the employer keep if pay for per diem to employee? So this is the question that we get from folks all the time. So they, obviously the employee gives you a report, tells you about the date, the time, the place, the purpose, and the amount they want to get from you on the per diem. So they have that with you. So employers should keep that report to show what was requested. The owner and the partner and the self-employed individuals should keep the same type of paper even though you don't need someone to approve it, right? Say if you are in the partnership, many partners are just 2% of the owner. And with that said, each one of you would go around and, having business conduct and relating to client going out of state, out of town, and then you come back with your per diem. And a lot of times we have a client in that situation, and actually one of the partners just very upset with the other partners how they drink because they got a lot of money reimbursed because they drink with their client, but this particular partner is allergic to alcohol, so would never ever drink. So with that said, there is a little bit of inequity going on. So what we did is we have turned the reimbursement policy from actual expense to per diem, and that just brought peace to the partnership. You see how sometimes knowing what you can do can really resolve your toughest business issues that no one can resolve, only you could if you implement that. So I want this per diem to be one of the key to resolve inequities among employees and or among business owners, so we can actually be more comfortable with what people claim and be encouraging people to save so they can bring more money to their pocket. Wouldn't that be even better? I mean, if we can reimburse $100 to an employee, but they only spend $20, they bring home $80, what's wrong with that? I really think that's one of the best way to give incentives for folks to do better and reach far. So bring your client base and penetrate your business to other states, other locations. All right, my last slide over here, folks, is the information that you will find useful. If you go to www.federalpay.org, then /per diem and /the year. Then you will find this chart and you click on the state. It will give you the rate for each state. Of course, within each state, there's also different pockets. But they will give you the average when you bring that up. If you go down this page, this is just the top of the page. But if you go down this page, it will give you kind of like the when we put in the address, they give you the Google Map thing, and so you put in the address, it will give you exactly how much meal should cost, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So detailed, I'm not kidding you. And the incidental is always $5 per day. Then they give you the hotel range, like what you can do. It's just really amazing. So you want to use that to decide, in your business, you probably know which state you go, which places you go the most. So as a business owner, you find out that rate, then you decide whether you go with the rate or below that rate. So that way you can establish rules, regulations inside of your company and then making your accounting a little easier. And why do you want to penny pinching partners? And just not a really good idea, right? You agree with me? All right, this is what we want to bring you today on per diem philosophy and the per diem rate. And this is our 3 p.m. afternoon webinar. And you can always email our great person, Catherine, and she handles our marketing. She is also Liberian. She does everything. And a lot of times my PowerPoint is prepared by her, and then I go in and to kind of refresh. If you find some misspellings on the PowerPoint, most likely I did it myself. So that's what happens. But call 515-288-3188. That's our main number. We open Monday to Saturday, folks. Just in case you do not know, there's not a CPA firm I find in the United States of America, and so much work. They're like workaholics. They work 6 days a week. Well, we have 2 shifts. We have people working from Tuesday to Saturday and Monday to Friday. So we cover 6 days for you. And from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And you can visit us online, folks. I'll see you again, and we will continue bring you exciting knowledge. Even if you felt not excited, will make you feel exciting about the knowledge. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.